Welcome to First Dates and Soulmates. The podcast believes you can go home again, but wonders if you should. I am your host, Nikki McKnight.
And I'm Meg Casebolt.
And Second Chance Romance Month continues today. We are discussing Sweet Home Alabama, the 2002 film starring Reese Witherspoon and Josh Lucas. Meg, what is your history with Sweet Home Alabama?
I forgot how much I like this movie. I think it held up really well. I have no recollection of ever seeing it before, but I know I have. This is like a really great plane movie. This is like, maybe I saw it in the theaters in high school or college because it was right around that time. But I don't know. I don't remember watching it. I just know that I have seen it. And then when we said Second Chance Month, I was like, well, that's a really good Second Chance movie. That was all my history.
And overall, like, you enjoy it.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it more than I thought I would on rewatch.
Interesting.
Some movies do not hold up 23 years later, and this one does.
Ooh, okay, fascinating. I don't remember when I first saw this. I probably saw it on DVD when it came out. I've probably seen it once or twice since then. It's kind of, it's a good background movie to just, have on. I watched most of it while I was making dinner the other night. I will say, though, I disagree with you. I think this movie is absolutely horrible on rewatch. I think this is a horrific movie. Oh, I have so many thoughts on why these people don't deserve happiness. And this is a bad movie. So I'm excited for us to talk about why we have such diverging opinions on this. But there we go.
I wonder how much of it is how little I remembered of it, and therefore it like exceeded my expectations because I had very little memory.
You like it. I enjoyed it. Give it this. There are moments in this that I enjoy, but there's also moments that I get really angry at the characters. Mostly not Reese Witherspoon. Everybody else around her, I get angry at. So we will discuss. Yes. But
because I get mostly angry at Reese Witherspoon.
I love
Everyone
this.
Else,
okay.
I validate.
There we go. So if you have not seen Sweet Home Alabama follows Melanie Carmichael, played by Reese Witherspoon, who is an up-and-coming fashion designer in New York City. Ever heard of it? And she is dating Patrick Dempsey's character, Andrew Hennings. And Andrew Hennings is a JFK-like figure in the New York scene. His mother, played by Candice Bergen, is mayor. And they get engaged, and it's supposed to be this very happy moment. And Melanie says to her fiance, I would like to go home and tell my family about this without you, because you've never met my family. So she goes back down to her roots in Alabama, but she's not there to see her parents, y'all. She is there to see her husband, Jake, played by Josh Lucas, because it turns out she's been married this entire time, and her husband refuses to give her a divorce. So she goes back down south to try to get him to grant her divorce. And while she's there, maybe she finds out that home is where the heart is and the south is actually a really great place. Drama ensues. Sweet Home Alabama. So what I love about this movie is it is directed by Andy Tennant. And for those of you who don't know Andy Tennant, I would call him like a rom-com director king of Hollywood, because he has done Fools Rush In. He directed Ever After a Cinderella Story, Anna and the King with Jodie Foster, Hitch, Fool's Gold, The Bounty Hunter, and then It Takes Two, which is kind of a romance. It's got Steve Guttenberg and Kirstie Alley in there with the Olsen twins. So it has potential. It has potential here. There's some great characters. I like Reese Witherspoon as an actress. I like her as a producer. I like Josh Lucas. I like Patrick Dempsey. I love Candice Bergen. This has some interesting points to it. So let us start in the beginning. We meet Melanie, up and coming fashion designer in New York. We love a woman with a career. She's got this amazingly supportive boyfriend, then fiance, who the day of her big fashion week debut, he sends these flowers to her house. He sends a driver to pick her up after her show is done. Like, what a charming prince. It looks like she's living such this great life. And how Andrew proposes to her, he literally takes her in through the back entrance of Tiffany's, and Tiffany's is open after hours and is like, pick out a ring. Like, damn. I would fall for this, Meg. I'd be like, yes, you're gonna bring me to Tiffany's to pick out whatever jewelry I want. I'm into it. I could be into this.
Thought that was a little bit indecisive and wish he'd picked out the ring himself.
Well, here's the thing. Because what we know about Andrew And what his mother says is they haven't been together all that long.
8 months, I think.
And his mother, the mayor, is saying that he's just on a rebound from his previous girlfriend. And I love how they set the stage, because this happens so often in romance. Like Sleepless in Seattle is one that always comes to mind for me, that you need to give them a fiance or a boyfriend, but you don't want to make your main character out to be the villain. So the reason they break up has to be immediately accepted by this boyfriend or fiance in a way that nobody gets hurt, because nobody's a bad guy here. So for Melanie and Andrew, when they do inevitably break up and go their separate ways, it's okay, because Andrew was just on the rebound from the person he was actually meant to be with. It's okay. We're all fine. It's fine here.
He actually says, like, I do not make decisions that I don't know the answer to. Mm-hmm. And then when she breaks up with him at the end, he's like, oh, that's how this feels. I was like, that was an interesting choice.
It is funny just to talk like Patrick Dempsey's character, Andrew, a little bit, because he's the mayor's son. And the mayor in New York, maybe it's different now because it's Zoran and everybody loves him. But prior to that, like, the mayor of New York was not this like mythological figure, nor were there children. Like, no. Do you know who the kids of the mayor are? Like, now if it was the president, like, we know who the Bush daughters were, right? Like, we kind of knew them. We know who the Obama daughters were. But I like how they kind of set up that he is this JFK-like figure because his mother has these aspirations that he will go into politics and he will become president someday. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
But what I don't get about that is we eventually discover that Melanie Carmichael is not her last name. She adopted that name to hide her rather poor country origins. Are you telling me that they have been dating for 8 months and Candice Bergen's character hasn't already done a background check on Melanie?
No way.
No way in hell. I did not believe that. She's a controlling mother. She would have had her investigated from the very first date.
Before the first date. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was definitely off. And I will say that, like, I feel like there are some, especially New York legacy families that you do know the names of. So, like, the Cuomos as the governor, or the previous governor, now that, Kathy Hochul took over. But there are sort of those families that you do know the names of as a New Yorker, but it certainly is overblown to a scale that, like, is unreasonable here. But it works. It works in the narrative.
So also with this movie, we don't start in the present day. We actually start in a flashback of these two young kids on a beach during a lightning storm. And it is Jake and Melanie as children. And they get struck by lightning. And they're having like this moment and so cute. And Jake's like, I'm going to marry you one day. And she's like, why do you want to marry me? And he says, so I can kiss you anytime I want. And then lightning strikes. And then we fast forward to Melanie in New York.
And I am so glad that was a short little prologue because child actors, man.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's so hard.
Some of them are great. Some of them are horrific.
I'm glad it was over quickly. It was like, not every child actor can be Kiernan Shipka. Sometimes they're all just like Bobby Draper getting replaced.
That's exactly who I was thinking of, was the Draper kid. Or the kids in Hook. The guy was fine. The young boy, Jack, was fine. But the young girl, Daddy, why? Yeah. Oh, God. Save me from precocious children. So when we meet Melanie, I really like her as a character, even when you find out that she's hidden her roots. Because she's trying to make something of herself. And even like Candice Bergen, when she finds out Melanie's true backstory, she goes, poor people elect me. I'm not mad that she's poor. I was like,
I'm a Democrat.
Gross. I'm a Democrat. But she also says, like, far be it from me to criticize someone who has worked really hard to make something of herself. Her fashion line notwithstanding, it's not that great. But we're told in the movie that, like, fashion journalism is calling her the next up and coming thing. She's worked really hard to establish this life for herself in New York City. She's gotten rid of her Southern accent. Because if you don't know the plot of the movie at the beginning, you're like, oh, she's kind of cool. I like what she's doing, even if I don't like her fashion. It's very 2000s.
I mean, it was of the time.
Things that should be loose should be tight.
She
that is
had
2000s fashion.
A lot of asymmetrical dresses and one shoulder choices.
Yeah, everything in the early 2000s sartorial choices were, if it's meant to be loose, it's tight. If it's meant to be tight, it's loose. The sleeves are too big and everything is asymmetrical.
Maybe there was some sort of time, like, metaphor here about her being unbalanced.
It was just bad fashion in the 2000s. So he proposes to her and she's like, I need to go home. and tell my family. And this is where like the story really kicks off. She goes home to Pigeon Creek, Alabama. And we find out not only is she married, but she's lied about her last name. She's lied about where she's come from. She takes the name Carmichael from one of the plantations, which is a choice. And she goes back and has to deal with her husband, Jake, who refuses to give her a divorce and hasn't signed the divorce papers the last X number of times she sent them home. There is an article that Candice Bergen's character is reading at some point. Again, I can't believe she hasn't done a background check prior to this. But she's reading about an article that was done about Melanie in like Fashion Press or something like that. And she goes, her family's in cotton and all that implies. So you're implying that her family was on a plantation and owned slaves?
A lot of slaves, yeah.
And that's how they made their money?
Mm-hmm.
I get that this was the early 2000s, but wow, what a choice. To be like, I'm going to take my name from a plantation in Alabama.
And all that implies.
That implies a hell of a lot that I don't love.
It's a very throwaway line, too.
It is a very throwaway line. Like, it makes me wonder, even back then, I was like, what are they implying? Like, to me, I would have probably back in 2000, whatever, when this came out, I would have been like, oh, so she's rich. She has generational wealth is essentially what I think they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. But I was like, oh, so that generational wealth comes on the back of chattel slavery? Not fun.
Yeah.
This is awkward. And I think that is one of my biggest issues overall with this story. We've talked about small town before. There's nothing wrong with small town. But what this movie really tries to portray is that the small town in the South, this is the right way. They are the right kind of people. This is the correct way to live. And if you want big city, well, that's just wrong. This is in Alabama, y'all. I just don't love this portrayal because we find out so much about what her life was like in Alabama. And I think the movie is trying to get us to be on the side of the small town.
Yeah.
She left. She changed herself. This is the correct way. Down home, simple folk who don't put on airs. Ew.
And like very pro-Confederacy. There were a lot of people in Confederate soldier gear that were just kind of walking around or dead in a field.
Yeah, I was like, Civil War reenactment aside, because I guess cool, it's like a museum thing, whatever. But small town, we see this even in Hallmark movies that aren't set in the South, right? Small town life is the correct life. You're not aiming too big. You're not doing too much. People actually care about you. You respect your family. And like Melanie, when she comes back to this small town, it's the way that other people talk about New York and talk about her life is really gross to me. And it means I'm not on any of their sides. I'm on Melanie's side this entire time.
This is strange because I usually am not a huge small town trope lover. Because I think it can get a bit insidious, it can get a bit gossipy, it can get a bit, everybody's in each other's businesses, and that's invasive to your privacy. But there were things that I actually really liked about Small Town, like when the lawyer came at the end and they were like, oh, he's a reporter, we have to protect her. Or the way that they all sort of knew each other intimately, and she was the one who was judging her own past and removing herself from them and saying, I'm better than you because I made these choices. And so I understand why they got defensive. I understand why they said, like, just because you left doesn't mean that we're wrong. And I think that there were certainly moments where they said, like, oh, she's all hoity-toity. She moved to New York City. But, like, she is hoity-toity moved to New York City. She did abandon her roots. She does say, like, I'm not really from here. She has basically disavowed her entire past in order to become this new person. And in doing so, I think that to a great extent, this movie is, like, not just a second chance with Jake, it's like a second chance with her own past and her town and her relationships there. Not just her mom and dad, who she still was talking to, but the friendships, Bobby Ray and Luella and other typically Southern names. Lurlin, thank you.
Yeah, no, I think she was completely right to leave that entire town behind. You hear it come up a couple times. Her mom says to her literally, I'm happy you left. I wanted better for you. There's the fact that her parents have never come to see her in how many years she's lived in New York? Like 7 years.
7 years, I think, yeah.
They won't come. She buys them plane tickets to come. They won't come. We won't go see you. So they haven't seen each other in person in 7 years because her family refuses to come see the life she has created for herself, even as her mother put her in pageants so she could have an opportunity to leave their town.
Yeah, there's a weird juxtaposition that didn't make sense to me there.
Consider, it is revealed that the whole reason that Melanie and Jake got married in the first place is she got pregnant. So not exactly going into like a marriage from a place of power and choice. It's the South. They had to get married. Mm-hmm. And then she has a miscarriage after a wedding where her husband didn't show up because he was so shit-faced drunk. And we wonder why she wanted to leave these people behind. Mm-hmm. I don't blame her. This was horrible. She was traumatized and abandoned by her family. She should have left. She should have never have gone home.
Well, she had to go home to get the divorce that he won't give her.
And now I'm not a lawyer. I know we're all surprised. But if she has petitioned for divorce how many times, after a certain amount of time, the judge would just grant it like in absentia.
Yeah.
So like that's, out of all the things we have to suspend our disbelief for.
But at one point she says like, how long for contested divorce? And I'm like, should you not have had this question 7 years ago, the first time that you filed
I was like, especially with her $350 an hour lawyer, like she's been doing this for how long? And he has sent the papers back. At some point, the other person doesn't have to be there.
Yeah.
If I'm sure she was sending it via certified mail because she would have to. If he just keeps sending it back at some point, like a judge would just go, okay, yeah, cool. We're just going to grant the divorce and it'll process over a year or whatever it is. But there's no way that he could just not respond and think that's one, going to win her back, and two, she won't be able to get a divorce without that.
No, she just put stamp on it. There's no certified mail. It's just stamps. Did you see that? Did you bump on that too?
At least on the sending it back to him. But like they're in Alabama. Maybe there's no certified mail available. I don't know. In their small town, she's just trying to get it back. But like, I totally understand why Melanie has abandoned this entire town. It is a place of trauma. It is a place of loss. And it is a place of literally her mom saying, you should go do more. And when she does more, they all give her shit for it.
They criticize her.
Absolutely.
You might be bringing me around to hating this movie.
Yeah. Like, and then I'm like, and Jake is not a good person.
Jake gives 0 reasons for why he won't sign the papers.
Okay. Yes. Let's talk about Jake for a second here, because if we go back to our framework episode, second chance, there has to be this reconciliation, but there also has to be proof it's going to be different. So They get married. They're very young because Melanie is pregnant. Melanie loses the baby. Jake is too drunk to even go to the reception. So Melanie is left there alone to deal with all of this really heavy shit. She leaves to go follow a career and get out of this small town. She sends him back divorce papers, which he refuses to sign. And we're supposed to forgive him for this because in the intervening years, he's tried to make something of himself and win her back. And Lurlyn tells Melanie at one point, about a year after you left, he actually went to New York. And we're like, oh, maybe he was going to try to have a conversation, maybe reconcile, or at least figure out what their path forward is. Okay, I can get behind that. But then he saw how fancy New York City was, and he's like, I need to make something of myself before I can win her back. Bitch, how do you expect to win her back if you don't fucking talk to her?
And then later on, after they've had this sort of reckoning reunion space, and she's back in New York City, and she's planning her wedding to Patrick Dempsey, and then she calls him and he doesn't answer? Hello? Where is the change?
Mm-hmm.
Besides...
there's not a lot.
Yeah, and they both choose not to trust each other, and they both choose not to change. Like, there's that moment where he's, like, getting ready to go to work in his, like, plane. Because obviously, why drive a car when you can drive a plane?
Well, it's several hours away, so I guess that makes sense.
But even so, like, why set up shop there then? Or why he says he's going to move there, whatever. So he does that, and he's like, there's a place I want to show you, and she doesn't go with him. Like, neither of them is starting to trust each other. And then all of a sudden I'm supposed to believe that they fit back together and it's going to be different this time?
Yeah, and like the getting revenge on each other. Like, she shows up at Jake's house again and is like, give me a divorce, you asshole. And he says no. So she finds the hide-a-key from when she used to live there and lets herself into the house. He calls the cops on her, and their buddy, who's now the sheriff, shows up, and she's like, we're still married. This is technically still my house. I'm not trespassing. And then Jake throws her under the bus for some other crime. So her reunion with her parents is her dad has to come pick her up from jail in this small town.
Felony Melanie.
Yeah, felony Melanie. But then even later, She has to go to the bank, and another friend from childhood is like, oh, your joint account? And she's like, so she takes revenge by withdrawing a fuck ton of money from his account and fixing up his house because, honey, isn't that what a good wife does? If you're going to say I'm your wife, then this is what I'm doing.
In what, like an hour? Right?
Yeah, like
exactly.
Where'd
how
she
fast?
go? Walmart or Piggly Wiggly? Like, what do they have in Pigeon Creek, Alabama?
Maybe
to
he
buy
went up
these
to
fancy bedspreads from.
his new space up in Tuscaloosa or whatever.
I don't know. Like,
maybe he's gone for a few days.
They start taking revenge in that way, and then they go to a bar, and Jake's there with another woman, and they just kind of keep playing these petty revenge things on each other. But regardless of what Melanie does, except for when she outs Bobby Ray, which I want to talk about because that's not cool. But
so not cool.
Jake is the villain here. He's not the romantic lead. I'm sorry. You don't give me a divorce on how many years, and we have never had a conversation in the intervening years. I'm like, you're a controlling asshole in my mind. You're not a romantic lead. Let's look at Patrick Dempsey and his beautifully swept hair and chiseled jaw.
Can we talk about the fact that, like, Patrick Dempsey's hair was its own character?
Oh my God. It's like Angelica Houston and her eyebrows. Like, every so often you get an actor with, like, a very definable characteristic. It's fucking gorgeous.
It was like its own human space on top of his head. It was like a solid 6-inch pompadour of like
it's
the
amazing
early aughts.
2002 Patrick Dempsey is prime Patrick Dempsey. Good stuff. But like, and I hate it, but I love it. Did an episode on Sweet Home Alabama, and there's something that one of the hosts, Jocelyn Getty, said that I could not get out of my mind when they talked about this movie. And it's the fact that Jake and Melanie look too much alike. They look like they could be related.
And I mean, Patrick Dempsey did not bump when he said he was his cousin. He was like, yeah, obviously, your cousin who's your ex-husband. Yeah.
Yeah, so the added drama into all this situation is not only is Melanie trying to get Jake to give her a divorce, but she's also feeling like maybe this small town Alabama is where I should be. The mayor has sent her lackey to kind of investigate her to see if there's something that could harm them. I'm sorry, she would have done this so long ago.
And, like, the lackey did a really shitty job. Come on.
Yeah, not a great job. But Melanie is at the Carmichael estate or plantation from where she took her name because Bobby Ray is there. And she outed Bobby Ray as being gay at a pool hall the day before, which was not cool in Alabama in 2002. Not cool anytime. But that could have been dangerous for Bobby Ray. Might still be. We don't know. But she goes because he works there and assists the actual owner of the house. And the mayor's lackey poses as a reporter, shows up on the front steps and is like, oh, can you give me a tour? And she's like, motherfucker. And Bobby Ray saves her and pretends to be her cousin. And yes, they do live there. But like, that's the other drama throughout this is how do we hide the fact that Melanie has been lying about her background, lying about where she lives, lying about the fact that she is married and who her parents are. So that when Andrew comes to town to surprise her and say, I do want to meet your family, he runs into Jake and Bobby Ray. And this is where there is something that Jake says when he meets Andrew that they lied about in the trailer. In the trailer for the movie, Jake says to Andrew, you and I are in love with two very different women. Which makes sense for the trailer because you don't know the background. The actual line in the movie is, you and I are in love with the same woman. Or sorry, no, it's the other way around. The trailer says we are in love with the same woman. In the movie, it's we are in love with two different women because Andrew knows Melanie is one way and Jake knows Melanie is the other way. So I thought that was interesting because like to say same woman makes more sense in the trailer because we know it's the same person. But it's just like, and then when it's revealed that Melanie, when Andrew meets her dad, Earl Smooter. I love Fred Ward.
Earl and Pearl.
Fred Ward in Tremors is hot as hell. Still a good looking man here. But when he introduces himself
also incredible hair.
Incredible
like,
hair.
Super tall hair. Loving the hair of the early aughts.
I'm Melanie's dad, Earl Smooter. And Andrew's kind of like, what? And Melanie's like, so I've been lying. And also, this is my husband. And he's like, you married your cousin? She's like, not my cousin. It's not my cousin. That was a lie. But I will give this for Andrew. Like, he eventually does come back around. He shows up at their house. They're kind of poor circumstances. And he's like, I'm Melanie's fiance, if she'll still have me. So he is a very kind individual, even if he's still dealing with his own baggage and maybe he is on the rebound. Who knows if these guys would have been happy long term. But he's such a kind individual. To then contrast him with Jake, who's supposed to be the romantic hero, who's an asshole. He's rude to her. He never says to her, I'm sorry for how I behaved when we lost the baby. And when I was drunk off my ass at our wedding, no, Meg, I'm not here for it. I'm not here for it.
I will say I think that Patrick Dempsey was in the right to be like, you just lied to me and I discovered that and I need time to process that.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
Totally in the right. And then he came back, I think almost too soon. I think he could have stayed away a little bit longer to really make her sort of twist in the wind a little bit. But yeah, he is. And what we were saying in the last episode about like, why would you marry Noah if you can marry Lon? Why? James Marsden is a better choice than Ryan Gosling. I'm sorry. Yeah. There's no reason that she should have ended up with Jake. Mm-hmm. There's no future for them in Alabama. I still enjoyed the movie, but the premise made zero sense.
If you start to think, if you take it at face value, which is maybe what you should do with rom-coms, it's fine. But if we consider this, if Andrew hadn't been on the rebound and he was just, they had a great relationship and he really wanted to marry her, to me, that makes Melanie and Jake horrible people. Because they
just drag it out.
They drag it out. And I know we're supposed to start to turn around on them because when we talked about what Second Chance has to have, it's them kind of like reconciling the past. And there is a scene when Melanie and Jake and all their friends go to like this downtown street festival because, oh my God, how cute is small town Alabama? We're there with family and friends and there's music and we dance to Lynyrd Skynyrd. But she goes to the pet cemetery because the dog that she and Jake had owned together died while she was gone. And she's really sad. It's a very moving moment at the dog's gravestone to be like, you probably did not understand why I left you. And that must have made you feel really bad. And as someone with a senior dog, I cried a little bit because I was like, oh my God, dogs don't really understand this. And then you have Jake come meet her at Bear's gravestone saying, I said it was my fault. And that is meant, I think, to portray that he's starting to kind of own up to his role in this entire fucking debacle. But it's not enough for me. This is not, and he even said, like, I don't remember the exact line, but they did talk about the baby. And Melanie did say, I feel so ashamed because I was so relieved when I lost it. And they never specify how old they are and how old they were when they got married. My assumption based on context is they were like 18, 19. Like
it was when
young.
He was still the high school quarterback. Because he says, do you remember that night? And she says, yeah, that's the night he got me pregnant. So
yes,
it would have
17,
been
18.
Yeah, 17, 18 years old.
Yeah, so like I get that he didn't have a lot of choice in this either. This was horrible for him too. But to go back to your framework, like he never apologized, really. She never apologized, really. And, they kind of do talk about, like, can we stop hurting each other type of vibe? But none of it's explicit. So I have zero belief that this is going to be fixed long term, even though we do get a very nice photo montage during the closing credits to show they do make it. I don't believe you.
I don't believe it either. There is a really good moment of reckoning where he says, I thought that this would be our new adventure. I didn't realize this would be your only adventure. That it would really lock her in a way that she wanted to escape, and he didn't want to escape. And so we have that juxtaposition throughout this whole thing of her wanting. It's a problem with ambition, right? They have a misalignment of ambition, and especially when they were younger, and she wants to escape, and so she has the beauty pageants, and she has the fashion, and she has the things that she wants to accomplish, and he doesn't until he goes to New York City, and then says, I need to make something of myself for her, not for himself. Which I did not love, that it was, yes, he gets into the glass because they had this moment on the beach with the glass, but it wasn't about him trying to better his own situation. It was about getting her back, but then not fucking talking to her. How does that work? To be like, oh, I need to make something of myself to get you back, and now I actually have made something of myself, and you come to my shop, and I kick you out. Like, there was not a logic jump, or there was a logic jump that was not reconciled for me there. I completely agree with you that there was not really a reckoning. It was just like an acknowledgement without an apology, or here's how things could be better, or here's what here's how we should have done it differently would have gone really far for me.
I really hate what this movie says about female ambition. It's something that comes up a lot. Like, I was watching The Craft the other day, the original Robin Tunney and Fairuza Balk, and there's this whole thing about, or even Buffy. Women are given power and ambition and we punish them for it. Melanie went to New York to make something of herself, to follow a career she's really passionate about. And by all evidence, she's succeeding at. We need to take her out of that. And again, based on the closing credit montage, they like Jake, like eventually we see they have a daughter and he opens up a Deep South Glass store in New York. But what happened before that? Was she designing in Alabama? Was she part-time in New York? Like we see her family meet at we see in the credits, her family does finally go to New York and they meet people in her studio and they meet her New York friends and they're horrified by the fact that one of them has a tongue piercing. But like, where's the we are going to do things together? Where's, I honestly think Jake should be sacrificing more than her at this point. Like I know.
Yeah, she's way more successful.
Yeah, but also like, he's the reason that things got fucked up. And maybe that's unfair to Jake. Maybe I'm being unfair to Jake. But I'm sorry. If you don't talk to someone for 7 years and don't sign divorce papers and never have a conversation about I'm trying to win you back, you don't deserve to win her back.
Mm-hmm. It shouldn't just be I gave my heart to him when I was 10.
No, I don't love that. So when they're at they decide to have Andrew and Melanie's wedding at the Carmichael plantation right away, so that, we're coming back together. And if we have it here, then would actually be the most secretive it can be because the press is expecting the plaza in June. So they decide to have it at the Carmichael estate a couple days later. Her lawyer comes to down, as you mentioned, that everybody at the restaurant is like, we don't know her because they think it's a reporter. But no, it turns out, and he interrupts the wedding ceremony to say, you didn't sign the divorce papers. And she's like, I sent them to you. And he goes, he signed them, meaning Jake. You didn't sign them. And everybody's like, oh my God, who has a pen? And she's about to sign them. And in the back of my head, I'm going, a divorce is not immediate.
Yeah.
It has to be filed. It has to go through it. Like, I guess, granted, you could sign the divorce papers now and your lawyer would send them off. And maybe in a couple months, you'd get a notice, like a writ of divorce saying you divorced. So maybe at their wedding here at the Carmichael, they'll just do like the vows, but they won't be legally married yet. Sure, do that. But it's like, this is meant to be this big moment. She's like, I don't know if I can actually divorce him because something has changed. What has changed? And she looks at Andrew and she's like, we're not doing this for the right reasons. And he's like, you're right. I'm still hung up on my ex-girlfriend. What? No, you're not. And
I didn't catch that. Like, I know she mentioned that there was an ex-girlfriend, but I didn't feel like that was a thread that was strong enough to pull at that point either.
And like his mom mentioned it once, like he's just on the rebound. But like we do see in the end, Melanie's friend shows her like the wedding announcement section in like the New York Times or whatever. And it is Andrew with his ex-girlfriend. They get back together. But it's like, why is this wedding? What does Melanie see or experience at this wedding where she realizes, you're right, I do want to stay married to my current deadbeat husband instead of fabulous Patrick Dempsey? Like, how has Melanie changed at all? Sure, like maybe she's understanding her family a little bit more, but I keep coming back to her family never came to visit her. Mm-hmm. They had no respect for her life in New York. So sometimes when your family is shit, it's okay to not go see them or talk to them.
I'm just loving your rant on this. I am fully on board with hating this movie now. I was like enjoying the little small town moments and like, oh, she was kind of a bitch to everybody and so they called her out on it. Yeah, that's also true. But like, no.
Yeah, she was. Like, yeah. It's entertaining as like a fun Saturday afternoon rainy day movie, or I'm making dinner and doing dishes while I watch it. It's still entertaining if you take it at face value. It makes sense. But as soon as I start to think about it, I was like, none of you guys deserve happiness. And that's not how this works.
I was pulling together the framework episode while watching this over several days because life and kids. And so I'm like doing the framework about like reckoning. No, they don't have that. Change. Oh no, they don't have that. Future under pressure. Nope, none of that. So like they have the first half of the framework. They have the history. They have the rupture. Mm-hmm. They have the distance and how things change. So then they have the collision course back. But they don't have any of the second half of it that actually make you believe that they're going to be successful in the future. They have laid none of the groundwork for happy ever after except, look, we finally got the dance. Right? Yeah. They're just resetting. They're not actually evolving the relationship in any way.
Yeah, because when Andrew and Melanie break up at the wedding at the Carmichael estate, there's supposed to be this big moment where Kate, Candice Bergen, Andrew's mom, is like, no 2-bit redneck hussy is going to abandon my son, and like makes fun of Melanie's mom and her double wide and frying things. And Melanie punches her in the face. But again, we're meant to see this as, well, yes, Candice Bergen's character is mean. Like, we know this, but like, no, the Southern way is correct. She should be frying things in her double wide. You asshole New Yorker. There's plenty of nice people there. But, Melanie punches her instead and says, don't ever talk about my mama that way. And then she's about to go find Jake, and she's like, hey, everyone, if you're a friend of the bride, stick around. I'm going to go find me a husband. Okay. And she goes out onto the beach because there's another storm coming, and we're flashing back to the beginning of the movie where, there was lightning involved, and Jake is out putting lightning rods in the sand to make more of the glass sculptures that happen when lightning hits sand. And she's like, by the way, we're still married because I didn't sign the papers this time. And he's kind of like, okay, what do you want to be married to me for? And then she says, so I can kiss you anytime I want. And they kiss in the rain. I will say, though, this scene is really well shot, and they both look really good wet in the rain. Mm-hmm. I like this scene. This is fun. There's some romance happening here. They look real good wet. I'm just going to say. But then their sheriff friend finds them out on the beach and is like, hurry up, there's a reception at the bar that Jake's mom owns. So they show up at the bar and they're handcuffed together. And it's like, finally, they're here and let's dance. And there's a wedding cake and they put the Rock'em Sock'em robots on top of it instead because, they fight all the time. True love, y'all. I love this part. Melanie says to Jake's mom, play something slow because this is the first dance they never get to head. And she puts on fucking Sweet Home Alabama. Sweet Home Alabama is not a slow song.
It is not a slow dance song.
No, it's not a slow dance song. This is very annoying to me.
It would have been interesting if they'd done like acoustic cover of Sweet Home Alabama.
Sure, if you want to put more Leonard Skinner in there.
They already paid for the rights.
Yeah. And then you get the credit scene where they have a daughter. Melanie is still designing. Jake opens up a franchise location in New York.
I'm so glad you're telling me this because I turned it off the minute that the credits started rolling.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole post-credit scene with, like, photos. Of, like,
I just was like, oh, there's the weird cat with the ghost cat. And then I turned it off.
No. Yeah. Anything else we want to say about Sweet Home Alabama? About second chance frameworks?
I feel like when we watched She's All That, I was like, not a fan. Amanda Bynes' accent, kind of weird. Don't love that the only way that we're identifying gender
she's
is
the man.
through our... Yes.
She's all that.
Did I say? Okay, she's a man. Yeah. I don't love the gender presentation choices and the fact that like the only way that we're identifying gender is our bodies. I don't love some of these other pieces. And then you're like, no, but here's all the reasons that it's the best Shakespeare adaptation. And I'm like, yes, I'm on board now with She's the Man. I feel like you just sort of destroyed whatever goodwill I had for Sweet Home Alabama. But I'm not angry about it.
Like, it's still light and frothy like most rom-coms are. Like, I still love Sleepless in Seattle. It's a horrific movie when you start to think about it. Meg Ryan is stalking a man.
And that's where...
And Bill Pullman is a bad guy because he has allergies? No! Bill Pullman's a majestic human. Yeah.
But I came into this going, I enjoyed watching it, and I feel like it's very much not... I don't believe that they're going to make it. I don't think that anything has changed in their relationship, but still, it was like... this is kind of fun and light. It was frothy, like you said. It's a little cupcake movie. I wasn't expecting big, epic changes because that's not what it was meant to do. Yeah. But the more you talked about it, the more I'm like, yeah, it doesn't really hold up the way that I thought it did.
Yeah, like there are certain things I think that really work, like from an acting perspective. Like I like the interactions between Jake and Melanie, even if I don't think they're particularly well written. I think they really demonstrate that there is tension and there is backstory here. I love the way they both look wet on the beach. I really like how Melanie's accent comes back and gets stronger over the course of the film. When we first meet her, she has kind of just like a bland, typical American accent, like, from New York.
Like me.
Yeah, like pretty typical, like upstate New York accent. And then when she gets back down south, immediately it's the y'all and the drawl and Baba Ray. So I like that as a choice. Because it happens to me a lot when I go home or when I hear people speak my dialect of French, my accent completely changes in both English and French. I lived in Arkansas for a couple years. When I go back to Arkansas, I pick up an accent, right? Because I hear it around me. So I like that as an acting choice. I think the cast of her friends is pretty good. Like Melanie Lynskey, I fucking love. I love anytime I get to see Melanie Lynskey. But like, the cast of characters and Ethan Embry is Bobby Ray and her parents, like, the actors are all great. The characters are fun. And I think the performances are good. I was just like, I don't like these people together. They're going to make each other fucking miserable. And ever since Jocelyn said that Jake and Melanie look related, I couldn't get that in my head the entire time. And there's even something Andrew says at that point. Is he your second cousin at least? Like,
I think cousins. if we read this not as a romance, but we read this as a return to identity and a reclamation of self. And, you know, she spends so much of her New York time trying to hide who she was and what she came from in Alabama, and then going back and embracing it and saying, no, I want to have the wedding here. No, I want my family involved. There is something interesting to me in that. If you read it more like women's fiction than as romance, and she's like, oh, I don't want to hide who I am anymore, that's interesting to me.
Yeah, like that totally makes sense. If yeah, like coming. It's a different kind of coming out. It's coming out as like who she actually is.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not even mad that she like changed her name. I think the name she chose was a little bit weird, but like, it's almost like it's a designer name. It's a pen name. Like, I don't particularly care about that. Yes, she manufactured her past, which is not cool. Especially again, they're in cotton and all that implies. But
like that would have been really easy to look through when they first started dating.
Yeah,
all of the timing of it made no sense. Yeah. That like the mayor wouldn't do a background check, and Melanie wouldn't do a contested divorce, and
no. Yeah, but I don't understand why we are supposed to be angry about Melanie's ambition and wanting to leave a town that has just been not good for her and a place that was very traumatizing for her at a very formative age. But we are supposed to valorize like the fact that Jake was emotionally faithful. It's not like he's been celibate for the years they haven't been, and has a shrine to her up there, which also wouldn't be healthy. So he's dated other people. He's dating someone in this movie when he goes to the pool hall. And sure, like maybe he never lets it progress past a point because he is still married and he still loves Melanie, but we don't see any of that. So why are we supposed to be like, well, he is the correct one? He's been dating. I bet he's been fucking. He's still married. Why is Melanie the villain in that?
He does nothing to reckon with it. He does nothing to fix it. He says he's going to fix it, and then he doesn't even talk to her.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that bothers me, that he doesn't talk to her.
He just resists, but he doesn't reconcile.
Yeah, it's not as interesting to me. But, you know, that's Sweet Home Alabama.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Is there anything that you ship about this movie?
I do ship kind of like the energy between Josh Lucas and Reese Witherspoon. Again, for all that, I think that the story and the script isn't awesome. I think they have some fun chemistry. Sometimes it maybe leads a little bit too familial rather than formally romantic, but they do have some good interplay. I like how we can see some of their frustration, and they look really good wet on the beach. And Fred Ward is still looking hot, my dude. If you have not seen Fred Ward in Tremors, like, damn, go watch him in Tremors. Weird movie to think about Fred Ward for, Tremors. But, you know, if there's an underground creature eating people and Kevin Bacon's there, why not Fred Ward? And I think his wife is Reba McEntire in that movie. And they have a bunch of guns that they kill the underground slugs with, which is pretty fun. Meg, what did you ship the most?
I feel like you ruined all of it for me.
Yes. No.
What did I ship the most? Her New York City friends.
They're awesome.
The new friends that she made. So, like, I think it was Talia, and then she had the designer who sort of came up with her, and when they came down, and then there was, like, that little bit of moment between the designer and Ethan Embry. Like, I liked the juxtaposition of New York meets Alabama not being awkward, but, like, them sort of embracing that this is who she was, and they're accepting it from her now. I like that a lot.
I do love that. That was nice. Beautiful. All right. Well, that's it for Sweet Home Alabama. Before we get into the question of what we are shipping this week, we would love it very much if you would head on over to your podcast provider of choice, primarily Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave us a rating. Leave us a review. If you're on Spotify, you can leave a comment on the episode. All of those things help the algorithm show that we are fun to listen to, and we would really appreciate all of that. Now the very important question, Meg, what you shipping?
Well, next week we have Two Wrongs Don't Make a Playwright. So I am shipping all of the influencers who signed up for their advanced reader copy and who are already posting about the book, writing reviews about the book. Like, that is such an amazing way to help, especially indie authors, to get a bit of a boost with our promotion calendars. So if you are listening to this on the day it goes live and you want to support, but you missed the ARC Reader sign up and you want to go over and pre-order Two Wrongs Don't Make a Playwright, I would love if you could do that for me. It's like $5.99 in Kindle, and it would make a huge difference to get that pre-order. If you're listening to this later, that's okay. Go get it in Kindle Unlimited. It's okay. You don't have to buy it in advance. I'm not here for like the orange bar that comes from pre-orders. I would just love if you could.
No, you don't want to be an Amazon bestselling author?
I mean, I do. But I don't expect that to happen in the romance space. That'll be my next book about AI, which like I do not expect listeners of this to be the ones who are buying that book. But I am technically an Amazon best-selling author.
Yeah, just for your first business book.
And I made it with Peppermint Bark. I was #1 in transgender romance for a couple of days.
I did not know that. Well,
I did
done.
last December. When
Very
I did a
nice.
big push right around Black Friday. So technically I can say that, even though I don't really feel it very much. But yeah, I'm just like so appreciative of the folks who like come out in advance and are able to promote books and share about it. Like we do some of that here on the pod in a very different way, but we're not always necessarily on the cusp of like, this is the day that this book comes out. So when people are willing to do that for Bailey Seaborn books, I really appreciate it. And if you're listening to this later, go listen to the next episode because we're going to deep dive into that next week. Nikki, what are you shipping this week?
I chose this book just because of its title, and then I really ended up enjoying it.
This is not Doppelganger
Doppelganger. Almost as good as Doppelganger from last week. So I was just scrolling on my Kindle app, and this came up as a suggestion. I did not know this author, but the book is called Blue Balling the Demon.
Oh my God.
By Callie Colby. It's an MM fantasy romance, and this was so much fun. So we meet Valerius, who is an incubus, and he's bored. Just sucking up sexual energy from humans is boring, and he's not having a good time. But then he meets Sir Kalen of the Civil Order, who is a knight who fights like demons and monsters and things. But because of the order he is in, he is celibate. So Valerius is very attracted to all of his repressed sexual energy.
Perfect.
He says, hey, you're going up to fight these like really tough monsters, and your repressed sexual energy is feeding me like nothing ever has before. How about we team up? I'll help you defeat monsters, and just by being in proximity to you, I'm going to be the most well-fed incubus ever. So they start to go out on these adventures, dealing with monsters, and things happen.
God, I love this.
It's so funny, but it's literally called Blue Balling the Demon. And
I mean, like, that's the premise in the title. It's so clear, so perfect.
Pretty much, but he's happy with the blue balls because it makes him, like, it makes the energy better, and then that energy starts to evolve over time into different types of energy.
Oh.
And their relationship evolves, and his relationship with the order of knights that he belongs to. It's very fun. But then what happened? I was like, oh, I've never read this author. What else have they read? And then I discovered they have this other series. It's a standalones, and it's fairies. And it's called the Wings and Whispers series. There's 11 books currently in it, and I just finished the last one the other day.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just, various stories involving humans and fae or fairy princes from other places. In some worlds, the humans know about fairies. In some of the books, they don't. They're very fun, but my favorite of the 11 was Once Upon a Rose Ceremony. So there is a human who is very, very poor and is about to get evicted, and he finds this casting notice for a dating show, and it's like Fairy Prince, and he's like, Fairy Prince, because humans don't know about fairies in this book. And he gets cast on this show and is like, oh no, fuck, magic is real. This is a legit Fairy Prince, and I'm a human on this dating show. And it's very fun. So if you want to discover some Callie Colby, who I've now read 13 books by her in the last week, check out Blue Balling the Demon, and then her Wings and Whispers series, my favorite of which is Once Upon a Rose Ceremony.
And why am I not surprised that you chose the reality TV one to highlight?
Some of them, there's some other ones that are really good. Like there's like prophecy ones. There's one I read the other day that there's a human shopping at IKEA and he falls through a portal in an IKEA closet.
I love it.
And he gets stuck in this alternate world that is like an IKEA labyrinth in a warehouse. And there is an elf there who is like the boundary keeper or fairy, and he got lost, and now they have to try to help each other escape. There's other ones where you are the prophesized mate, or I think the first book that I read, a human is a caterer for this big event. It's the biggest event he's ever going to be paid for. And there are fairies. I think humans know about fairies in that one. And he goes to get his bill signed by the organizer, and he doesn't realize he's signing a marriage contract to marry the fairy prince. And it's like, well, fuck, now what do we do? And
Obviously.
The prophecy has said you must marry, and you signed this contract, even though you didn't know what it was. And he now has to like move into fairyland and deal with the politics of marrying the prince of the spring court. Like,
now that legal problem I buy, because fairies are bitches when it comes to their contracts. They are airtight. This is not an uncontested divorce situation where you're just not responding.
Yeah, and the circumstances under which he signed this contract actually do become a plot point later, near kind of like the third act climax of the book.
I love this.
Callie Colby, I read a variety. I was very entertained. I feel like the last couple of weeks, I've just had like really fun titles like Doppelbanger, Blue Balling the Demon.
I love that it's like urban fantasy, but instead of it being like a dystopian future, it's like IKEA.
Honestly, some of the things he talked about in IKEA, like there's literally a part in that book where they're in a part of the labyrinth and there's like these little sprite-like fairies and they're like, oh, you human are the prophesied ones. You must vote on which half of our community has built the best structure to house like our memory cube. And it's them literally making these structures out of pieces of IKEA furniture. So they made like, oh, they took the Malm and built this, and they took the Ektorp and built this. It's really funny.
I love
and there's
this.
ones that are like involve video games, like where one of them gets the elf shows up in his house and he's like, you are the prophesied one who's going to help us fight the Void Lord. And you must be a great warrior. And he goes, no, I'm a really shitty warrior, but I have played 10,000 hours of strategy games. So I'm actually really good at strategy. So then he starts helping him defeat the Void Lord by like using gaming strategy.
I love this.
It's very fun.
That's delightful.
So that is my multitude of ships this week. Apparently, Callie Colby. Go check it out. And that is all for us this week. As a reminder to support the show for absolutely free money. Rate, review, and subscribe on your podcast provider of choice. Follow us on social media. We're at First Dates and Soulmates on all major platforms. And tell a friend. Word of mouth is one of the best ways that people find out about the show. And people trust you. They trust your recommendations. And we appreciate you sharing us as a recommendation. And if you have a little bit of money to spend, there are some ways you can support the show financially. First up, we link all of our book recommendations to an Amazon storefront. We'll put those in the show notes for you. If you happen to make a purchase via Amazon, we get a small commission from that at no additional cost to you. You can check out our merch store at TeePublic, linked in the show notes. If you would like a sticker that says Tingles in the Groiny Bits, guess what? It's there. You can also subscribe to the show on Substack. Subscribe for 1 month, subscribe for many months. We are just so appreciative that you are here, soulmates. We love you very much. Coming up next week, it is time for us to talk about Meg as Bailey Seaborn's newest release, Two Wrongs Don't Make a Playwright. We shall see you then. Bye.
Bye.